Many of us are astounded by what happened in the Carlee Russell case. The confusion that happened with the parents and the ex-boyfriend coming out and really standing by her and the alleged abduction. I want to go over with you the body language, the verbal and nonverbal communication of her parents in the Today Show. Hi everyone, Empowering True Crime, Alex here. And some of you may or may not know that I have a master's in communications. Well, that communication is mostly verbal and strategic. However, as also a media trainer in the past, it's important that when you're doing interviews or any type of communication, not just the words that are being used, but also the nonverbal communication. In fact, there's a study that shows that in face-to-face conversations, most of communication is actually being done non-verbally. So about 55% of communication is nonverbal, body language. 38% is vocal, so intonation and things like that with your voice. And 7% are the actual words that are being used. That's why, so have you ever watched somebody that you know is lying and the words are coming out of their mouth, but the body language is off, or the way that they're saying it, the intonation and all that, the tone is so off, and you just know in your gut. That's why I always say, follow your intuition, trust your intuition, trust your gut, because you know something's off, right? And so with this case, we just kind of felt something was off. So let's go ahead and watch this interview that was done on the Today Show. I actually did cover it a couple days ago, and I did go give a couple of my thoughts, but now we're going to break it down more, knowing there was no abduction. Now, something felt really off about the parents. They're almost like very opposing personalities. Now, I wanted to preface this by saying I don't know her parents personally at all. I've never spoken to them. So I don't know them. I haven't been, peeked behind the scenes, behind the curtain, as they say. And so I don't know how they are normally, regularly. Okay. So I'm just basing it off of this interview and also what we know actually happened. Okay. My understanding is Carlee was 25 years old and living at home with her parents. And if somebody can confirm otherwise, please let me know. But that is my understanding, and that she was a nursing student. Although she had been called a nurse, I don't think she was a practicing nurse. Again, if you can confirm that otherwise, please let me know. That's what media has been portraying. And so I haven't spoken to them personally, so I don't know if there's any other details there. She also had a red Mercedes, which for living at home and being a student, she did make money because I know she was working, but it just seemed like kind of like a stretch for most people. So there might be some dynamics here. And I feel it because I grew up in a sort of like a codependent family. So I feel it I feel the parallels with my family and theirs. So that's why a lot of this, I'm going to also come from that perspective as well. Also just observing body language. All right, so let's begin.
That moment you all first laid eyes on her again, what was it like?
To me, just so much joy.
This morning, in an exclusive sit-down with NBC News, the parents of 25-year-old that moment you
Well, first of all, she nods her head. Mom, I'm going to go mom. She nods her head, says so much joy, but then like half a second later has this like look of dread. So the mom has very elaborate mannerisms in this interview. Dad, on the other hand, I think he says actually one sentence on his own, and he has like another thing he says that's muffled and she speaks at the same time. So Dad only says one thing the entire interview, okay? And he is looking down, and so he did nod when he asked. So while she was nodding her head no, he was nodding his head yes. Is that how you say it? Nod. So she was nodding no, he was nodding yes at that. Let's watch that again.
Laid eyes on her again. What was it like?
To me, just so much joy.
This morning, in an exclusive sit-down with NBC News, the parents of 25-year-old Carlee Russell are speaking out. describing the moment their daughter appeared on their doorstep after being missing for more than 48 hours. What did you do when you saw her?
We tried to hug her as best we could, but I had to stand back because she was not in a good state. So we had to stand back and let medical professionals work with her.
You see there, he said something about paramedics, but he didn't actually say a full sentence. And you couldn't even understand what he was saying. She was basically the one speaking. So she is leading the conversation here. He is being supportive husband and dad. He's almost like just there to be the yes man and support what she's saying. But his own body language, there's something we're going to talk about more later. His own body language is very telling, interestingly.
But it's
Last Thursday, police say Carlee called 911 on the interstate on the phone with hearing Carlee scream.
Just going to fast forward here.
Or a chat during that time period until Saturday night.
There were actually just so many calls and texts from people who maliciously lied to us. I just didn't know people could be so evil.
Authorities.
Okay, so that I'm sorry, but when I saw this, I thought crocodile tears. Because she's appearing to be crying, but no tears are coming out. That was my impression. I don't know what you guys think. And of course, there are people who cry without shedding tears. But it didn't seem natural. It seemed very forced. Like she wanted to get sympathy. That's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting. Let's watch that again. I'm going to just rewind a little bit.
Calls and texts from people who maliciously lied to us. I just didn't know people could be so evil.
Authorities have not indicated where Carlee was during the 48 hours she was missing or declined to share with their ongoing investigation. And can you tell me what happened Saturday night? Did you just get a knock at the door?
Anything leading to the case itself, we can't discuss that.
But they say speculation about the circumstances surrounding Carlee's disappearance are only making things worse.
She's having to deal with the trauma of people just making completely false allegations about her.
Her family now are
there again. She looks like she's crying, but they feel like crocodile tears to me. Like it's a forced reaction. Let's watch that again.
Disappearance are only making things worse.
She's having to deal with the trauma of people just making completely false allegations about her.
Her family now urging the public to let the investigation play out, but mentioning an abductor. Her mother asking to read a brief message to the public.
Carlee has given detectives her statement so that they can continue to pursue her abductor.
Do you believe that there's an abductor?
So right there, and even the father, he's not even looking at her. He's looking ahead and looking down, and he's nodding his head, which is a good sign, but he's not looking at her, and he's just looking. His facial reactions don't look like somebody who believes what she's saying. Let's watch that again.
Public.
Carlee has given detectives her statement so that they can continue to pursue her abductor.
You know, if I had to base anything off of this parent's statements, I would not believe them. The mom is overly emotional and the father is underly emotional. And I mean, I don't know if that was done on purpose or what, but you know, it just doesn't seem that sincere. To me, they seem more like they care more about Carlee's reputation and by de facto their reputation than they do with the fact that there is this abductor. If they really believe that there was an abductor, I feel like they would have a statement and they would say, you know, we're looking for this person. Please, you know, if anyone knows anything, they don't say anything. Usually people make a plea like that when somebody's in trouble. to get justice. I don't hear that here in this statement. And they had the opportunity to do that. We're talking about, this is national, and by the fact that you can see it online, this is international news.
Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
NBC News has reached out to the Hoover police.
So that's kind of interesting. They kind of did like a little nod. The husband did like a sort of nod, a nod, no, yes. And the mom kind of did like a no. So let's watch that again.
Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
NBC News has reached
All right,
out
let's
to
watch
the
that
Hoover
again.
Police Department to ask
It's very subtle, but it's kind of interesting. Let's watch it again.
whether they're looking. Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like a
NBC News has reached out to the Hoover Police Department to ask whether they're looking for an individual involved. Police have just said they're following up on all information provided by Carlee. And when I talked to you all on Saturday, you also said your daughter is a fighter and she would find a way back to you.
I felt that in my heart.
Is that what happened?
She did. She found her way back to us. However, we can't discuss the details of that.
But they say one thing is clear. Do you believe she was fighting for her life?
Oh, she definitely fought for her life. There were moments when
the father didn't even say anything there. Yeah. Let's watch that again.
Do you believe she was fighting for her
oh,
life?
she definitely fought for her life. There were moments when
The father, I don't feel like the father is convinced. And remember, this is before the press conference. So we have to keep that in mind. So nothing has come out yet from the police about the fact that there were the searches that Carlee made and that they haven't found any evidence of a toddler or of a kidnapper, an abductor.
she physically had to fight for her life, and there were moments when she had to mentally fight for her life.
But she made it back to you.
She made it back.
Yeah, she did make it back.
Okay, so literally the only statement, complete sentence that the father has made that we showed, I mean, I'm sure that there was more he said, but that was shown here was she made it back. That's a complete sentence that the father said. The only complete sentence that the father made. Now, they both do kind of like this little smirky smile thing there at the end that also doesn't seem credible. Let's watch that again. Here, you see the father he's almost smiling here. It's interesting.
There were moments when she physically had to fight for her life, and there were moments when she had to mentally fight for her life.
But she made it back to you.
She made it back.
Yeah, she did make it back. All right.
Wow. Well, what do you think? Did you watch the interview before the police press conference? And if so, what was your reaction? Did you believe them? Did you believe them? Did you not believe them? Or were you neutral about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And also now seeing it again and kind of getting a different perspective, a fresher perspective, especially after the press conference. Now, what do you think of the interview? It's entirely possible that parents want to believe their children. They want to believe the best in their loved ones. That's why you even have, in extreme cases, parents or spouses that believe that their convicted murderer spouses or children are innocent, right? I mean, there's numerous cases like the most heinous murderers, people close to them still believe, or at least they say they believe. They may not really believe it in here, but they say that their beloved is innocent. And so we want to believe the best in people. We want to believe the best in our loved ones. And this might be one of those instances. And I do think, and I said this, I kind of alluded to this at the beginning, that there might be sort of like an enmeshed relationship, that a little bit of a codependent relationship. And maybe because of that, the parents would believe their child, for one. Like, let's say the situation seems very similar to their statistics, that there's very, 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 very few false allegations. This is not common. It's like approximately 5% of any crime is false allegations, approximately. Some crimes are a little bit more, some crimes are slightly less, but it's like usually ranges from like 2 to 10%. Very few. It's very, very, very little. So what happens is a lot of times with teenagers might make up some false allegations about something so that they don't get in trouble. What happens, unfortunately, is that people find out and then they get more in trouble because then they find out about the original thing that got them in trouble. And then they're in trouble because they made up the false allegation. So they get into more trouble. But part of that, I think, is probably that they just don't want to get in trouble. And so I feel like maybe there's some dynamic with parents, like maybe the parents are really harsh, or maybe they hold their kids up on a pedestal, and the kids are people pleasers. They don't want to upset their parents. I mean, there could be a lot of things. There could also be personality disorders involved, things like narcissism and psychopathy and things like that. There could be a range of different things that could be involved. In fact, a lot of codependent families where the kids end up being people pleasers are their parents, one or both parents or people in the family might be narcissistic or going to have narcissistic tendencies. And so they're kind of like the opposite of that. And by the way, I'm not a psychologist, but because I did study communication and also coaching and training, I studied a lot of behavioral analysis, which does include also psychological elements as well. And so some of those things in my own research, my own search for my own family understanding, I've done a lot of this research as well. And I see those overlaps there in this case. And we don't know all the answers, but I wanted to put this video together so that we can see, we can learn, we can see if there's any other instances like this. Is this happening in your life? Are you seeing red flags around you? Like, let's talk about red flags. Was there a red flag? Was there a warning sign that something like this could happen? Like, there's some rumors in this case, and they're just 100% rumors at this point, that that Carlee might have been trying to get back at her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend. There were rumors that she might have failed nursing school. Let's say she was failing nursing school and she didn't want her parents to, or like maybe she wanted to get sympathy from her family to deflect from that, right? And there was somebody recently who faked, who went missing, faked being missing because they had left school, left college. So things like this do happen, and it's very rare. But what's the underlying cause of it, right? This is just a symptom. What is the underlying cause? And so if you see some type of thing like warning signs, these are some things that you might want to look out for, right? And so, yeah, love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoy this video, if you learned something new, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up. And if you want to be part of the Empowering Family, we try to be the voice for the voiceless, missing persons, survivors, and those who can't speak for themselves. And I really want to try to have more of an empowering angle to true crime, survivor stories, and the news, because I feel like it's all dark, right? What are the learning lessons? How can we bring justice? How can we find advocacy or help others who need our support? With that, stay safe, stay thriving, always follow your intuition. It's so powerful, and make sure to keep it empowering. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.